All right, welcome to our fourth City of Atlanta Election Forum series. This is the fourth election cycle that we've done this to, dating back to, I think, 2009. So we're excited to see y'all here tonight, and for the folks watching online, thank you for taking some time out of your Thursday evening. My name is Rebecca Serna, and I'm the Executive Director at Propel ATL. And I want to just do a quick thank you to our sponsors who supported this event, including Underground Atlanta, Two Wheel Valet, Atlanta Civic Circle, Serve Robotics, and Partnership for Southern Equity. And thank you as well to the members of our steering committee that organized this forum series with us. The Partnership for Southern Equity and Just Youth, Atlanta Civic Circle, Red Bike and Green Atlanta, Advance Atlanta, and New Disabled South. Now I'd like to introduce the moderators for tonight's forum, Saba Long and Amaya Connor. Saba Long is an accomplished communications and policy strategist with deep expertise around local government, public safety, public transportation systems, and transit connectivity issues and solutions. As the executive director of the Atlanta Civic Circle, Saba pursues her passion for public policy and a free and independent press with a fresh perspective on how local media can meet the needs of everyday residents. Thank you, Saba. Amaya Connor is a junior at KIPP Atlanta Collegiate in Atlanta, Georgia. Her passion for creating change has led her to join several youth councils across the city and continues to fuel her aspirations of becoming a lawyer. She actively participates in debate tournaments, notably becoming a semifinalist during the summer she spent at Harvard in her first year of competition. About 8 months ago, Amaya joined the Just Youth portfolio as a staff member at the Partnership for Southern Equity, where she and her team work to elevate youth voices in prominent spaces. She lives by the words of Naomi Kassir, "A tiny step today might be the biggest stride tomorrow." Thank you, Amaya. Let's give her a round of applause. All right, and now I'm going to turn it over to Saba and Amaya to get us started.
Thank you, Rebecca. How's everyone doing this afternoon, evening? I can't believe it's already past 6 o'clock. All right, let's jump in. Candidates, can you join me? This would be candidates for City Council President, Rohit and Marcy. Please join us on stage. Don't jump. There are some steps in the back. We are not liable if a candidate breaks their leg right before the election. Audience, if you all have questions, just raise your hand and someone will come by and just write it, give you a note card that you can write your question on. Hello. Hola.
Awesome.
All right, Amaya and I will share a mic. The sharing is caring. All right, you guys ready?
Yeah, feel great.
All right, so we have Rohit Malhotra and Marcy Collier-Overstreet, your two candidates for Atlanta City Council President. And just in case folks are not aware that this seat is an open seat, the current City Council President, Doug Shipman, decided to not seek re-election. So one of these two people will be your next City Council President. And with that, we will jump in. Candidates, Victoria, if you can raise your hand as your timekeeper. I think you've already saw her or said hi to her. She has a yellow card. Yellow means wrap it up. Like last couple of words, not last couple of sentences. And then red means stop talking. And Amaya and I are very nice, but we will cut you off, okay? And with that, I will also tell you how much time you have per question, okay? So your first question, you have 1 minute and 30 seconds. It's very generous. All right, we'll get started. As a council president, you would be responsible for selecting committee chairs and committee members, right? That's one of the key positions and role of a city council president. But we want to know, because this is a transportation-oriented forum, what would you prioritize when you were appointing the Transportation Committee and when you were selecting the chair? And we'll alternate, but for now, let's start with Rohit and then go to Marcy.
Yeah, thank you so much. I appreciate this forum. It's great to be with friends, family here. My name is Rohit Malhotra. I'm running for City Council President. I'm very excited about what the possibility is with committee assignments here. I think the first thing we have to do is we need expertise, not feelings, not I care about transportation, but do you have an expertise and an understanding of transportation, both through an infrastructure lens, but also through an equity lens, making sure that we actually have the ability to look at transportation through the budgeting process. So we're going to have to make decisions on where money is going to go. We're also going to have to make decisions on transportation in terms of we have limited amount of funding. How do we make sure that every neighborhood is able to get a fair shot at those dollars? And so I think about expertise. I also make sure that we look at things like conflict of interest. It's very important that if you are getting money from companies that are bidding on transportation projects, that you should not be somebody who is a chair of the committee or making decisions on that because you could be compromised in your decision-making process. So expertise, geographical representation, and lack of conflict of interest.
Thank you. Marcy, 1:30.
Thank you. Being transportation co-chair for 4 years, co-chair with Mayor Dickens for his 4 years on council, and vice chair for the past 4 years. I've been on transportation for 8 full years. I'm also a retiree of Delta Airlines, so really in touch with and in love with our gem of Southeast United States, Hartsfield-Jackson International Airport, it is the busiest and most efficient, and it is city run, right? So you don't need to second guess yourself or anyone that would be the chair of the Transportation Committee. It is extremely important that we're holding ATL DOT accountable, as well as making sure that the chair of transportation understands accountability, where our transportation lies, and that is with ATL DOT, MARTA, our airport. All of those things need to be taken under consideration when deciding the best chair, and expertise is certainly at the top of it, but it really is about understanding the whole role of transportation and the way we've moved transportation in the last 4 to 8 years. So expertise matters.
Hi. The Atlanta Department of Transportation's budget has been stagnant for several years. Do you see yourself in expanding their funding to meet the committee's needs?
Me, right? Because yes, I say yes. There's not been any budget cycles where I've not asked ATL DOT to raise their budget line, and that is because I've noticed that we could actually use more bodies in our areas of management around ATL DOT. So I've been advocating for that every single budget cycle. I think it's extremely important. I know that the city of Atlanta can deliver its projects better, and I've been allowed voice on transportation in that realm. And so, yes, I do believe that, again, for my 9th budget cycle, which will be next summer, as council president, I will absolutely work with my council members to make sure that we are telling ATL DOT, again, to dream big, make sure that they're asking for the correct line items. And I also meet with them to talk about what I would like to see in their budgets. I do this every single budget cycle, and I would certainly continue to do that.
So it's the responsibility of council to decide what the budget is. Departments can come in and propose things, but ultimately, if city council wants to see a budget go up, it is their responsibility to push for it to go up. Those are decisions that are made by the city council. So when I think about DOT, the answer is yes, we do need to expand the budget. But oftentimes when we talk about how budgets actually happen, when we talk about budgets going up or down, it's usually a unilateral cut. So it'll say, hey, we're having a bad year, 10% cuts across budgets. Or we're having a good year, 10% bump across budgets. I don't think that's the best way to do budgeting. I think there are some parts of our budget, like transportation, that need individualized attention to be able to say, what is it that we're trying to achieve? How much does it cost to get there? And then how do we use the budgeting process to figure out where those gaps are or not? I think way too often when we do budgeting, it's just how much have we spent last year? Do we have the money to spend it next year? Rather than actually working on the strategy of how to utilize the budget process to be able to say, not just telling the department to dream bigger, but for the council to demand more. Because the council is the legislative body that produces and creates public policy. And most importantly, determines the budget. So yes is the answer to your question, but I would change the way we actually do the budgeting process.
This next question is meaty, so we're going to give you 2 minutes to respond. Mayor Dickens is proposing to extend the funding mechanism known as TADs, tax allocation districts, that use property tax increases to fund special projects, with most of the money proposed for transit and trails. This would in turn reduce the funds available for schools and the city general budget. What is your position on extending the TADs? If you oppose it, why? And if you support it, what should the city do to ensure oversight and accountability? And we'll start with you, Rohit.
Okay, so I think when it comes to the TADs, not all TADs were created equally. So we need to make sure that we are talking about each TAD individually. Why it was created, what it was intended to do, and how successful it has been in actually delivering on it. Way too often we just kind of unilaterally say, well, let's just extend the financial mechanism. That to me is not the right way for us to be thinking about how to fund fundamental things within our city. There are some things where a TAD extension is not the best way for us to be able to get the money to do that. It might be better for us to look at a bond. It might be better for us to look at philanthropy. It might be better for us to look at another financial vehicle. Because at the end of the day, TADs are ultimately taking future tax increases, taking them today, and saying we know that an investment today, usually 12 to 1 is the average, that's going to give us more money in the long run if we make an investment today. The problem is that oftentimes when we make investments in some of these projects, they end up doing the exact opposite of what we said we were going to do. So we say we're going to build something that's going to help people stay in their homes, but it actually ends up displacing them. We say we're going to build transportation that's going to help people get from point A to point B, but it actually prevents them from being able to get from point A to point B. So when it comes to the TADs, I don't think it should be ever a unilateral decision on all of the TADs as a package deal. I think we need to take each and every TAD individually, make a concerted decision, and put guardrails around the TADs to be able to say, what does accountability look like, not just when we get it right, because I think there are things that the TADs have done well, but what happens when we don't do what it is that we said we were going to do, which also happens way too often today.
So just so I'm clear, you would support the TADs or would not support the TADs?
Yes, I would support the extension of the TADs with strict guardrails, but not every TAD. We could go TAD by TAD if we'd like to, which we don't have time to, but I can. And so what I think is important is if there's a TAD that needs to be shut down, just like Atlantic Station TAD or Princeton Lakes TAD was shut down, we need to shut some of the TADs down. But if there are other TADs that we think, for example, the Beltline TAD, which we are only very limited ways away, I am concerned about us just saying extend it without actually putting guardrails around it. But I don't think we need to close it down.
Okay.
So I think
we'll come back to guardrails.
Please, yeah.
Marcy.
Thank you. So TADs are a good conversation right now, and I'm so glad we're actually having the conversation. I will say that I was one of the reasons why we did start looking at our TADs, because Princeton Lakes was a TAD that needed to be either closed or figured out exactly what else do we need to do with this TAD. Did it meet its requirements? And it actually did, except for one thing left to do, and that was fire station. So I made sure that I got with the departments to get that fire station done. As a matter of fact, we did 2 fire stations with the Princeton Lakes with Princeton Lakes before we closed that TAD. And am I in favor of extending TADs or not? In some cases I am. It depends. And I will tell you that I've actually had conversations with APS board members and Fulton County commissioners, and they are also at the table when you're speaking about TADs, and they have some concerns, and they also would like to speak with us more about it. I would like to have more of a conversation around the TADs before we decide, well, let's just extend them all. I think that there are 4 that's not going to even be included in deciding to extend the TADs, and Campbellton Road is one of them because it doesn't expire at the same time as the others. And I will say that I am in support of that, in making sure that that Campbellton TAD is extended or stays longer, because it just became a full-blown TAD. So it really needs time for all of that development to happen. So TADs are a long conversation, a 2-minute conversation, not at all. It is something that is it's a great tool, it really is, but you don't want to get ahead of your partners when you're speaking about the TAD.
So just to piggyback on that last point, the city could decide to extend the TADs without support from APS or Fulton County. Is that something that you would support? Because there's a conversation about this,
Yes.
this being
So-
passed in this cycle before a new council is introduced.
Is seated. Well, I will tell you this. I've not had a conversation with anyone that said that they're going to pass it without APS or Fulton County. I have seen numbers that suggest that there is a possibility that that could happen, but I am not a fan of not being collaborative. So I would like to hear where we are and give it a moment. I don't know why we have to rush anything. So I am open to hearing more about the TADs and collaboration. We have time.
Okay, and then one final thing about the TADs. We didn't really get a clear answer on what oversight and accountability would look like. So can you just give me one example that you would like to see from the City Council with respect to oversight and accountability? Rohit, give me one. Marcy, give me one.
Yeah, I think that we are supposed to have both a recurring audit and a dashboard that allows us to look at the completion of projects that we make promises to. I think with the TADs, if we are saying that the TAD money is going to be used for a very specific set of projects, I think those projects should be outlined on a dashboard, just like a Domino's pizza tracker, where you can know like every single step of the way, how it's actually happening, whether they've dropped the pizza or not, whether they put it back in the oven, when it actually is done, and when it's ready for delivery, and when you are enjoying it. I think there is an important part of transparency is delivering data to people so that they can see, because the public does not have trust around the TADs right now. So I think we need to talk about delivery timelines as an important metric.
Okay, thank you. Marcy?
Yeah, so first of all, can you repeat the question?
Oversight and accountability.
Yes.
Give me an example, one example that council
Yes.
can put forth
I just
around
wanna make
oversight
sure.
and accountability.
Yeah, so Invest Atlanta comes before council, our committee, to talk about our TADs. I will tell you that I used the example of Domino's Pizza Tracker when we were talking about our complete streets in about 2019 and 2020, and gave at full-blown transportation committees out loud. I've done that several times, and sure enough, that is what we have for our complete street projects. They worked hard on that dashboard. And I think that that is a useful tool that I asked for and we actually got for our complete streets. Where TADs are concerned, Invest Atlanta does come to us quarterly with TAD specifics. It is not a matter of overviews. It is very specific. I will also tell you that I am not a fan of not enough information where TADs are concerned. And I also am not a fan of a TAD in search of a project instead of the other way around. There should always be, the TAD's purpose is to build areas that need it the most. to develop those areas. And what you don't want to do is continue to work in areas of a TAD that have already received exactly what they're supposed to have, and not work in other areas that really need the most basic of development. So TADs are a special, wrap it up? Okay. Well, I just think that oversight happens in the committee level, for sure.
Transportation decisions often happen without direct input for those most at stake, young people. If elected, how will you ensure that youth have a real seat at the table in shaping Atlanta's transportation policies, from street design to City of Atlanta operating budget?
I just want to make sure you heard her. It's youth, Y-O-U-T-H. This was a whole thing the other night.
Yeah.
Not you, but youth, young
okay.
people.
I love that. It's my turn? Okay, so I love that. When starting the Complete Streets, the Cascade Complete Streets, I wasn't on council, nor was I running for office, right? And so what I did was I took my daughter with me to the public engagement portion that the city was doing at the time on the Complete Streets at Cascade United Methodist Church. And she got to pick out like the colors of the benches and the trash cans, and deciding how wide she wanted the sidewalk, and talked about why it was important to have wider sidewalks as multimodal paths and all of that. And it gives the community more ownership of what we're doing in the city. I think that a whole lot of our projects should certainly include a youth-led program. And I like everything about that, for sure.
Yeah, so I've been spending a lot of time with a lot of young folks on this campaign trail. So been at the AUC, been at Georgia Tech, been at Georgia State, been at Morris Brown, been at Emory. And when I talk to a lot of young people, they're like, why would I even engage with the city? Because it feels like when I engage, I get these cool little projects, but then my voice is never heard. I don't see myself in it. I think it is extremely important. When I was running the Center for Civic Innovation, we ran a program with a number of partners who are in this room as well, where we actually brought young people in to determine what the budget of the city of Atlanta should look like. And when you saw what young people wanted the city of Atlanta to be like, where they thought we should be spending our money, it almost felt like a complete opposite of where we were actually spending our money. I think we have to give young people not just an event they can come to. I think we got to give young people power. As city council president, one of the things I would love to do is actually create a youth council that has direct engagement and interaction with the legislative side of government, not just the executive side of government, but the legislative side of government, so that you can spend time with legislators in your district, but also that they're not just listening to you when they need to check a box to say, hey, we engaged young people, but that it's a part of the culture and the process, that we do it all the time. We need young people to be a part of every process. You need to be in the room. You need to have decision-making power. But if we only listen to you when it's politically expedient or convenient, then it's not that it is telling young people that we don't actually care about them. And it's why voter numbers are so low among young people, because they don't feel heard. So as city council president, I want to make sure that young people understand that they don't just have to come to City Hall, but I'm going to bring City Hall to young people.
Thank you. 1 minute response to this question. The Atlanta Department of Transportation has faced criticism for delays in building projects and in limited transparency. So again, an oversight and accountability question. How would you strengthen oversight and accountability specific to ATL DOT?
Goodness, so I've been a loud voice, and oversight looks like just what I've been doing for the past 8 years, where ATL DLT is, well, as long as ATL DLT has been in existence, because they were not here when I first got on council. But I will say that it looks like bringing a project to the community and making sure that ATL DLT comes to the community. While doing the Cascade Complete Streets, I made a plan that ATL DOT would have to come before the community every 3 to 6 months for the entire program, the entire project. And that was the way that we were able to see where we were, and people were able to ask the questions directly to the department. And ATL DOT was able to see where they were and where the contracted people were on that project. They needed to be inconvenienced by getting there. They needed to understand the importance of our business community, losing revenue, and it was important. So 3 to 6 months before the community on every project is what I would do.
Rohit?
Yeah, metrics, budgets, timelines. Metrics are really important because it breaks through the rhetoric and it says what are our outcome metrics that we are willing to use as I think, so every year the city council actually publishes what their goals are. Each committee publishes their goals at the top of the year. And oftentimes they're outputs. We want to do this many projects. We want to do this many things. I think we have to change that to outcome metrics that are actually measurable, that are data-driven, that can be, tracked over time. I think we need to do a better job of tracking those measurements and making them public. The second is making sure our budget process actually responds to those metrics. If we want to achieve those outcomes, what's the budget that's required? And the third is timeline. Again, if we say we're going to do a thing by a certain point, don't just get it done during election season. We need to make sure that things get done on the timelines that we say we're going to do them. And if we don't, we have to offer the community an explanation for that. These committee meetings are hearings as well.
Do you think the city is ready for the World Cup matches from mobility perspective? What should the city be doing when it comes to transit, pedestrian, and bike infrastructure? You can start.
Sure. I think the challenge here is that our elected officials are saying we're ready, but the public doesn't feel it. And that is often what happens because there's a lot of room in between those two things. Elected officials say we're ready, we're more ready than we've ever been. But if you go to any small business in Atlanta and ask them if they feel ready for the World Cup, if they feel clear on the plan, if schools understand the safety mechanisms that the city is going to be putting in place, if actual organizers and community organizations that are focused on trafficking issues, if they understand whether they have the support, ask labor if they think we're ready for the World Cup. Ask the people who run our trains if they think we're ready for the World Cup. So there's a gap. So I think what we have to do is to make sure, yes, we invest in infrastructure for pedestrians and bikes and all that, but we can't just do it for the World Cup. We have to do it for the people who have to live here after the World Cup is gone. And that requires a much more extensive conversation and buy-in from the people who are already here.
Yeah, so I'm an elected official, and I actually don't think that we're ready for the World Cup quite yet. I think we're getting ready, and I've actually said this several times. I do believe that we need to bring the community with us, and have given lots of examples and ideas of what that looks like because everybody cannot afford to go to the World Cup. So we want to make sure that all of Atlanta, especially all of our most southern areas, our most western areas, our most eastern areas, every quadrant of the city of Atlanta feels like they're part of the experience because the World Cup is like 8 different Super Bowls. And so a city has to actually be ready for that. Security-wise, transportation-wise, I think we have more work to do. I don't think that we're ready for World Cup yet, but I do believe we have a plan, and I do believe that the right people are at the table making sure that we're getting ready for World Cup. So we're doing all of our due diligence as we should, and I think we will be ready for World Cup next summer.
Let us hope and pray.
Yes.
All right. We're going to do a lightning round. For this first question, you have 15 seconds. You can do it. And we'll start with you, Marcy. When was the last time you took MARTA or a non-car mode to get somewhere?
Oh my goodness, 15 seconds. To a Falcons game, to the pregame in August.
Okay. Rohit?
I took MARTA to get here. And y'all told us to take MARTA to get here. I took MARTA to get here. And I tried to get through all the construction that happened. I ran as fast as I could to be here. I was out of breath. Your team helped me make sure I could get correct. But no, I took MARTA to get here. I knew if I'm gonna have a conversation on mobility, I was gonna take MARTA to get here.
The next question is, what's one thing Atlanta should be doing to make sure its transportation politics advance its climate goals? You have 30 seconds to answer this.
Sorry, do you mind repeating the last part? I couldn't hear the last
I got you. What's one thing Atlanta should be doing to make sure its transportation politics advance its climate goals?
Oh my gosh, yes. So impervious surfaces are something that I think we should think about in our transportation. So when we build things, oftentimes the material that we use is really outdated. And it's not taking climate into consideration. It's not taking our environment into consideration. And particularly in neighborhoods and areas that have high rainfall and don't have anything to absorb that rainfall, if the materials that we are using to build new things there that are going to be there for a long time aren't using materials that are like climate centered, we end up in a situation where we could end up
Wrap it up.
Sorry, I didn't see the.
Can you
all
please
right.
repeat that again? Because I want to make sure I hear you correctly.
What's one thing Atlanta should be doing to make sure its transportation policies advance its climate goals?
Got it. Okay. So we need to make sure that we're getting some of these cars off of the road, 100%. So actually raising our level and of transportation options should be our goal, and connecting our communities by other ways other than us just getting in our car driving a half a mile to Kroger. I just really think we need to do a better job of connecting, and that is what I've been working on for the last 8 years. That's why I'm a Blinky Award winner, because I do like to prioritize connecting communities other ways than cars.
Many residents can't attend daytime council or committee meetings. Would you support scheduling more evening meetings or hearings to make public participation more accessible for the working Atlantans?
I'm sorry.
You want me to repeat it?
Yes,
Okay.
please.
Many residents can't attend daytime council or
Got it.
committee meetings. Would you support scheduling more evening meetings or hearings to make sure public participation is more accessible for working Atlantans?
Yes, I would. And I also would like to offer more information to those that it's hard for them to get the information about what's happening at City Hall via the mail or however, but I do know that it is hard for people to attend public hearings in the middle of the day at City Hall, and I do have angst about that. So yes, I'm open to more evenings. I'm open to other ways of handling our business in a public manner. Yes.
Yeah, community organizations have been asking for this for a long time. These meetings I just went to the budget meeting from this past year. It was in the middle of the day, in the middle of high traffic. It lasted no more than 5 minutes. So if you had to actually get to that meeting, it was almost impossible to do so. Also, a lot of these meetings, they start with proclamations that could last anywhere from 30 minutes to 17 hours. And you sit there, and it's like if you took off of work to be able to be there, and there is not a mechanism for you to know that you can be heard, I think that's something that also needs to change.
Okay. Thank you. Just again, a reminder for folks, if you have questions, please raise your hand and someone will come and take that question. Let's transition to these audience questions. You have, let's say, a minute to respond. This is one that has come up in every forum. We did not put it on there, but we knew that the audience would ask, so we didn't even need to make it a question. Do you support Beltline Rail? If you do, how will you make it happen?
Actually, I do support Beltline Rail.
And specify mode of transit.
I'm sorry?
Specify the mode of transit.
Oh, so I think there's so many opportunities out here right now. Beltline is a vibe, right? So you don't want to pigeonhole what rail looks like on the Beltline. Not right here today, you don't. You want to make sure that you're holding presentations and informationals to understand what our opportunities are. But I would love to see transportation in the form of some type of rail throughout all 22 miles of the Beltline. And I think that that's something that actually can happen. And it should be funded through all of the mechanisms, from federal help to MARTA. We've already paid our half-penny sales tax for that. And as well as the city buy-in. The state should help, and any of the partners that would like to be public-private partners. I think that all of those things will be necessary in order for us to actualize Beltline Rail throughout the whole corridor.
Okay, so I just want to get real granular. So as a council president, what would you do to advance Beltline Rail?
I would make sure that the committee chair for transportation and all 7 or 6 committee members really had a solid plan about how they would hold MARTA and everyone accountable for Beltline. And I think that that's something that, and Beltline also goes to CDHS. I just think that it's something that needs to be top of mind. I also believe that the City of Atlanta's City Council should actually be in the IGA when speaking about what happens on Beltline.
Can we explain, we had some acronyms, so CDHS.
Intergovernmental, Community Development and Human Services, IGA is intergovernmental agreements. We're told City Council is not a part of that. It's really the mayor and the executive branch. I've proposed that we do legislation for City Council to be part of those conversations as well.
And any preference on east side versus south side starting off?
I think that there's a need for both. And
If you had to pick one.
if I have to pick one today,
I mean, they can't build both at the exact same time.
So I will say, first of all, East Side, we've already got some work actually done on that. I don't see anything wrong with starting that. But South Side really needs more transportation options, for sure.
Rohit, same question.
Okay. I just want to make sure I answer it directly. So what's the question? Just can you
As
repeat it?
council president,
Yep.
how would you advance Beltline Rail, assuming that you support the notion of Beltline Rail?
Yeah.
And what type of mode would you be interested in? And then the third one that I added on was east side versus south side. If you had to pick one to start with first, what would you pick?
Yeah. Yes, there should be rail on the Beltline. We told the public that we will put rail on the Beltline. We taxed the public to put rail on the Beltline. People voted to tax themselves to put rail on the Beltline. We made a list of projects to the public and said, of these 17 projects, one of them will be putting rail on the Beltline. And every single person ran on that. And then, when it became less politically convenient, of course, if you don't start anything, if you don't move on it, the cost goes up as time goes on. So, to me, number one, we have to set aside money. So we need to have a conversation about Beltline Rail. If we're in agreement that there should be rail on the Beltline, which I believe there should, because that's what we told the public, we should actually, the city council president can work with council members to write legislation to be able to reserve dollars that allows us to have more direct control over the project of building the rail on the
Wrap it
Beltline.
up.
And I would start
Wrap
on
it
the
up.
east side because that's what we
Okay.
told the public.
Got it, east side, okay. Just so you guys know, we asked the candidates about rail on the Beltline, we asked about Vision Zero, which is pedestrian safety, and a number of other transportation issues and non-transportation issues like climate. You can find their answers to those questions at atlantacivicCircle.org. I present to you your city council president candidates. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
Candidates, if you plan to stick around, please go to the back so that you're not interrupting the District 11 candidates who are pleased, would like for you to join us on the stage, District 11 candidates. And someone's going to bring some more chairs for you all.